This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Ned Days and Lee Rosen cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on your insurance coverage and an answer to a member question about resolving burnout. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from Osaka, Japan. We're in Osaka for the 2025 World Expo. It's an every 5-year gathering of the world to show off what each country has to offer. This is my third visit to one of these fairs or expos. The first was years ago in Knoxville, Tennessee. That was back when I was in college. And then the 2020 Expo in Dubai, which actually took place in 2022 due to COVID. That was my second. And now here in Osaka. And truth be told, I am not impressed with this expo, at least not compared to Dubai. The expo is crowded, and it's hard to be critical of an event that is drawing in so many people because obviously it's doing very well, but the lines are so long and the pavilions that you get into are not that interesting. They're just not that impressive, and I will describe the whole thing, at least for us, as kind of a bust. We have skipped a lot of it. We had tickets for more days and we decided not to go back. But you never know when you go to one of these things how it's going to play out. But it doesn't always work out so well. In 5 years, there will be another one in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Will we go to that one? I don't know. We've had one good success, one kind of a miss. We'll just have to decide. It'll be a tough call. Thankfully, we've got 5 years to decide, so we'll figure it out between now and then.
It's time for your tech tip. Last time we looked at a plug-and-play add-on for AI triage in Gmail, but both Google and Microsoft have been working on AI-powered workflow platforms for their respective business suites. Now, truth be told, I don't think either of these is ready for prime time yet, and they're both still not public releases, so clearly Google and Microsoft don't think so either. But they are an intriguing look at the plans these companies have for how we will create and manage workflows for tasks inside of their respective products. The most immediately useful things you can do with these platforms right now boil down to categorizing and automatically drafting replies to emails, but they offer hints of more interesting AI automations in the near future. Let's take a look at Google Workspace Flows first. This was announced several months ago, but is now pretty widely available for paid workspace plans. It's not going to be turned on by default, though. Google doesn't want you playing around with this unless you are aware that you are going to have to get your hands a little bit dirty. If you go to your Workspace admin dashboard, you will see the left-hand sidebar with a bunch of options. Click the triangle next to the one that says Generative AI, and then click Gemini for Workspace. Once there, you should see a section where you can turn on Alpha Gemini features for your workspace. This means that anybody in your Google organization can try this out, so be aware of that. Once this is on, it will take some time before Workspace Flows is available. It took about a day for me, but your timing may be different. You'll know that it's working if you visit flows.workspace.google.com and see a welcome dashboard instead of a documentation page. If you've ever used a workflow tool like Zapier or Make.com, this should look pretty familiar if very, very limited. You can start with one of their preset templates. You can describe what you want and let Gemini try to build it for you, or you can handle things manually and add building blocks yourself. Flows are triggered by what's called a starter event. This might just be running something on a schedule, but more likely you'll want to trigger it with a new email, a change to a Google Sheet, a file being uploaded to a Google Drive folder, a message in a Google Chat, or a response to a Google form. Once you've selected a starter that will trigger your flow, you can add actions that will be performed using the data from the email, form, or uploaded file. You get some basic filtering options, but the interesting actions are things like passing the data to Gemini with a prompt, passing it to a custom gem, summarizing it, extracting specific pieces of data from it, providing a prompt so the workflow can render a yes or no decision and carry out other steps based on that answer, and other AI capabilities. Once you've let AI create a response or summarize it or reformat it or do whatever you want it to do, you have more actions like drafting an email reply, applying an email label, adding or updating a row in a Google Sheet, creating a meeting in a Google Calendar, or creating a Google task. There are also some integrations right out of the box with tools like Asana, Jira, Salesforce, QuickBooks, and more. So you can do things like create a subscriber in MailChimp, create a customer or a vendor in QuickBooks, or create a lead or task in Salesforce based on what your AI prompting determined regarding the incoming files or emails. Now, before you get too excited, in my brief testing, Workspace Flows leaves a lot to be desired. If you are not using Google Chat or Google Tasks, which most people aren't, what exactly you do with the output of your flow is kind of limited. You can create a Google Doc or update a Google Sheet, but as of right now, you can't rename Google Drive files or easily send messages in other services. You can set up something to label and draft email replies in your Gmail inbox, but aside from the basic third-party integrations, you are fairly limited. But if you want to do something like let Gemini label emails based on criteria you describe, automatically draft replies for certain types of emails, or create spreadsheet entries from email contents, it can do that right now. Turning over to Microsoft 365, Power Automate has been a very sophisticated, if slightly complicated, workflow building platform for years, and they have increasingly added pre-built AI blocks to make fleshing out the AI capabilities of these workflows easier. More recently, Microsoft has added several easier-to-use tools with different names and confusingly slightly different purposes under their Copilot umbrella. There's an agent builder, an app builder, and now what's called Flow Builder. To access this, go to your Copilot dashboard and the Agents section. Tap Explore Agents, and you will see a section of agents built by Microsoft. We are looking for the Workflows agent. It too is not quite ready to handle the more interesting things we might want it to do, but it's worth exploring, and compared to Google's offering, I think it's probably going to be more usable today, since if you are in the Microsoft ecosystem, you are probably using tools like Teams and Microsoft Planner and maybe even SharePoint, so you're likely going to get a little more mileage out of it given its limitations. Unlike Google's Workspace Flows, which seems to be available on any paid workspace plan, Microsoft Flow Builder requires a Copilot AI subscription. The interface is very similar. You can start out by simply describing what you want to build, and Copilot will do its best to construct an outline for you. You have options for intercepting emails, Teams messages, and more, running them through AI with custom prompts to draft replies, extract information, or filter results, and then create new emails, Teams notifications, and even delete or update SharePoint files. You don't get the fine-grained building control of Google's offering, though. Updates need to be made by chatting with the AI rather than manually adjusting your action steps. So while neither of these platforms is going to let you kick up your feet and let the AI do everything for you just yet, they do offer an interesting look at what's hopefully a near future where you can easily automate tedious interactions in even less time than it takes to configure an email filter right now. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. The Friday that I almost threw up looking at my payroll, it taught me more about business than any seminar ever could. The total number looked so big that it looked like a phone number. I sat there wondering how I had gotten into this situation with 50 employees, endless meetings, and a budget that made me feel queasy every 2 weeks when we had to run payroll. I'll tell you, I used to think that that kind of growth, that was success. And the bigger the team, the more legitimate I felt. I thought being bigger proved that we were winning. But what it really proved was that I was feeding my ego. Every time we hired someone new, it felt like growth. Every new desk we added, it felt like progress. And yet somehow, as we added more and more people, we became less and less profitable. You see, we were not growing. We were swelling like a balloon full of air and looking impressive from the outside. But we were dangerously thin where it mattered. I told myself that we were scaling, but what we were really doing was collecting complexity. I was not leading the law firm anymore. I was managing problems that I had paid to create. That payroll moment, it hit me like a brick. I realized that I wasn't chasing success anymore. I was chasing the appearance of success. I had built a business that was designed to look big instead of one designed to work. Bigger offices, bigger staff, bigger everything except profit and peace of mind. So we took action. We cut hard. And when we did, the craziest thing happened. Everything got better. The work improved, the stress dropped, clients got more attention, the money followed. It turns out that smaller was smoother, leaner was faster, focused was freer. The light bulb had gone off in my head. Here's what I finally understood. Bigger isn't better. Bigger is just bigger. Real growth, it isn't about adding, it's about aligning. For real growth to happen, every hire, every expense, every project needs to make the business stronger, not just bigger. That Friday afternoon taught me a brutal truth. I'd been measuring success with the wrong ruler. I was counting dollars flowing through, not dollars staying in. Revenue, high revenue, it felt impressive, but it wasn't mine until I took it home. Net worth, that is the only financial scoreboard that matters. The rest of it, it's noise. So once we made those changes, I slept better. I thought more clearly. I finally found myself running the business instead of it running me. It is amazing how light you feel when you stop carrying the weight of unnecessary growth for the wrong reasons. I did not need more people. I needed more profit. I didn't need to look successful. I needed to be successful, to be free of all of that pressure to look successful. When ego shrinks, profit grows. Bigger is not better. Better is better. That is your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Osaka, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there, I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of other lawyers who are working on instead of in their businesses. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your practice. Join us today at roseninstitute.com.